Well, good morning, everyone. This is John Craig, and you are with us this morning on Let Us Reason Together, the Monday edition. I'm so glad that you've joined us, and it is a good day. Why? Because it is a good day. Every day is a good day when you're walking with Yeshua. I'll just have to say that. Monday, January 27th, 2020 is the day. It's the first day of the 11th month of the Hebrew year 5780. That 11th month is called Shabbat in some circles. So just want to let you know this is Let Us Reason Together, where it's based off of Isaiah 118, where we come now and let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. So what do we do here? We sit down, we reason out current events, cultural shifts, and of course this week's Torah portion. We can either push back or push through. Nevertheless, if iron does not sharpen iron, sparks will never fly, let alone ever get a fire going. And with a little heat and a good midrash, how will our hearts ever get soft and moldable enough to be transformed in the way that the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, wants us to be, and maybe have a little bit of fun along the way. So we're going to have some fun today. Got some interesting highlights, interesting points that I want to let everybody know about. So it is it's going to be a very interesting day. Let's just say that. So before we get going on, I would love to bring in Mark David Smith and say good morning. Mark, how are you doing today?
Are we on?
We're on. Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's up?
What's up?
How long you and Sandi been doing shows on the Lamb Network?
Oh my goodness.
Ask Sandi, John. She'll give you a better idea. I know she's got it in her head.
It's like 2013, 2014, somewhere along there.
23 years, what? 13 years?
So 2014 and probably like November 2014 .
Yeah.
Something like that. So
what is it, 2019? This is 2020.
Yeah.
So a little over 5 years.
Yeah. It's been
interesting. It's so much fun to listen to both of you guys when you're talking, like giving your intro spiel there, and you're talking about specific things going on. Is you'll give a statement and then you'll ask yourself a question and answer
it. Why do we do that?
You're the only people on the planet I've ever heard do that.
Oh.
And I'm sure it's got some kind of maybe homeschool thing, or maybe it's a Sunday school thing or whatever like that. I'm not saying it's wrong, or I actually enjoy it. It's kind of cool, but you're the only people, both of you, you're the only people that will give a statement, ask a question, and then answer it. If you're going to ask a question, wait, let us answer it. Maybe we can answer it, but I just wonder if it's this side of considered to be talking to yourself. Because you're are you asking us? Are you asking yourself? I think you're asking yourself. I think you're giving the statement, but you're asking yourself.
It might be, and didn't we have last week on one of last week's shows the definition of insanity?
Well, we did.
Yeah,
I did on last Thursday's show. I gave a big long spiel on all of that, but I don't think this ever fell under the auspices of that, But,
well, I was going to say, talking to yourself, that type of thing. But of course, I always learned it this way, the definition of insanity. I was not able to inject it in last week's show with you when you did that. But
I have it written here, just what you're going to say. Can we say it together? Doing the same thing over? Isn't that what you were going to say?
Well, no, actually not. I was going to say that the first sign of insanity was hair on your knuckles. And then the second sign is looking for it. So
no, I was going to say doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Well, I would just want to caution everybody out there, beware of people who shave their knuckles. Yeah. Now, how about that?
Would that be with a razor or with an electric razor?
It's probably preference, but beware. That's probably a weird and quirky shower thought. Beware of those who shave their knuckles. All right. Hey, talking about weird and quirky shower thoughts, I've got some for you, Mark.
I thought that was.
Okay, so how about this one? Theme parks can snap a crystal clear picture of you on a roller coaster at 70 miles per hour, but bank cameras can't get a clear shot of a robber standing still. Why is that?
Well, they actually even take videos of you on a roller coaster, and they're clear and very precise, everything. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. How about this one? Tall people are expected to use their reach to help shorter people. But if a tall person were to ask a short person to hand them something they dropped on the floor, it would be insulting.
I get it, but I'm trying to think whether or not I would consider that insulting or not. Because it would be insulting if the tall person says, "Hey, you're short. Pick that up for me, will you?"
It's exactly right. Yeah, you're closer to that one than I am.
That would be. Now, who was it? George Burns once said, you're old when you look for something else to do while you're down tying your shoes.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that kind of the same thing somewhere along there? Now, if you said, hey, you're short, would you mind tying my shoes? Now, see, that's just might be, hey, I'm old and you're right there. You're close by,
Yeah, right. How about this one? Now, Sandy's going to love this one. And unfortunately, she's not in the picture for me to get her complete reaction on it.
Is it because she's short?
No, this is for the next one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
But you know what? She does, because I'm taller than she is, she does ask me to help her get stuff that's higher up out of her reach.
But do you ever ask her to get stuff off the floor for you?
No way. No.
Interesting answer. No way.
Okay. If I get up 10 minutes earlier than usual, I treat it like 2 extra hours and end up late for work. That was somebody's. That was somebody's.
Say that one again. What?
If I get up 10 minutes earlier than usual, I treat it like 2 extra hours and end up late for work.
Okay, I just don't get that one.
Yeah. Sandy pointed at me. She pointed at me.
Oh.
I don't know. I guess she thinks when I feel like I have extra time, I do extend it, but I don't know about that. I don't know about getting up earlier. I just don't know about that part.
Okay.
She just said, I don't know if you heard it in the background, you're always just late. Okay. Moving right along. If someone offered to pay for my food and rent for the next 18 years, I'd do anything they'd ask of me. But I complained every time I took the trash out while living at my parents' house.
Or even here, or even in where you're at right now. Hey, what I picture right now is that Sandy is to your left, on the other side of the computer monitor, ironing. That's what I
Well,
picture. When you look up at her over there, it's like
yeah.
you're looking up over the monitor and she's standing at an ironing board ironing. That's what I picture.
Okay. Well, she's not, but it's just interesting thought.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
how about this next one? Okay, so that last one is about 18 years. 18 years you live at home and before you leave, and all right, yeah, okay, all right. So here's how about this one? Aliens invaded the moon. Aliens invaded the moon on July 20th, 1969.
Independence Day.
No, July 20th.
Okay.
On July 20th,
They're
1969. Aliens. See, or I guess we as Earthlings going to the moon, we were aliens to that planet. See, isn't that an interesting?
Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know who came up with that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're the aliens.
Yeah, I see. Oh, wow.
Okay, one last one here before as I torment everybody on these. And this is when a company offers me a better price after I canceled their subscription, they're just admitting they were overcharging me. I think that's true, right? It's true. So, and I'll give you an example. AT&T. All right. So AT&T did something similar when I was price checking, and I was like, you guys increased the rate on me. And so I'm just going to go somewhere else. Oh, well, we can cut that in half if you'll just sign it.
Now I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's along the same. It's along the same lines of when somebody says they're having a half price sale. Everything is half price. Now, do you think at half price they're losing money?
No.
Yeah, right.
No.
So what's their markup?
Exactly.
Have you ever worked in retail?
Yes.
So have I. And normal markup is 50%. That's kind of regular across the board. But when somebody runs, and when they run them on a regular basis, like 14 times a year, for any reason at all, half price sale. Oh, every day, half price.
Yeah.
And anybody that don't get that makes me wonder.
Yeah, right.
Makes me wonder. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So verse of the day today is taken from the Half Torah reading, and for this week's Torah portion called Bo, and Half Torah.
Half Torah. So would we think that Torah is making money on? Never mind.
All right. Yeah, that's a rabbi trail there for you.
They're not. Yeah, they're not running a half Torah sale.
Yeah.
Get half a Torah. Get a full Torah for half price.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, Jeremiah 46, 27 and 28. But fear not, O my servant Yaakov, or Jacob. Do not be dismayed, O Israel. For behold, I will save you from afar off, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob will return and be in rest and at ease, and none shall make him afraid. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, says Yahweh, for I am with you, for I will make a full end of all the nations whither I have driven you. But I will not make a full end of you, but correct you in measure. Yet will I not leave you wholly unpunished. I think that was just a really, really cool verse, considering everything that's going on in the world today, that we're not to fear, no matter where we are. and that the nations, that no matter all the garbage that they like throwing at us, that the Father's going to bring all their shenanigans to an end. I just think that's just cool. Just a good stuff. Good stuff, Maynard. All right. So, okay. So I'm going to skip the weird news today because last week I gave a little bit of tease. Well, before I get there, we're going to talk about 13 strange etiquette rules from around the world. We got to get to our Torah portion. But before I get there, how about this? Headlines from around the world. So headlines from around the world. Seriously. Okay. How about this one? This is from the Charleston Daily Mail. Suspected beer thief leaves liquid trail. There you go. That's a headline from around the world. How about this one? This is from the Madison County, Illinois Record. And it is Alton attorney accidentally sues himself.
Accidentally sues himself. Hey, can I petition something here?
Yeah, okay.
Can I petition that we ask Sandi if we can never mind.
Yes.
Go ahead. No. All right. How about back to the beer trail again? Well, never mind. No.
Okay.
It takes me a little while, but
yeah. I just want to let everybody set the record straight. That was not me stealing the beer. What I'm doing is playing with the fact of what kind of liquid was it? Well,
never mind. That's what. Just go on.
All right. So talking about beer, then.
Really?
You might want to ask that question again because from the St. Petersburg Times, it says Pasco man arrested, says 48 beers was likely 10 too many. What? So now you really do have the question, what type of liquid trail that might have been. I don't know. Just saying. Keeping it family friendly.
Oh my gosh. Oh, no. What was this is a headline that said
Yeah.
Pasco 48 beers might have been 10 too many.
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
That's a great one, but then I gotta write that one down.
Well, I'm gonna.
And you gotta send me where you got that one because that's a good one. Thanks. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm taking your time. Tell Sandi I'm sorry that I'm making it run over.
Yeah. So how about this one? This is from Timothy Haas in Bozeman Daily Chronicle. Red tape holds up a new bridge.
A new bridge?
Yeah.
Red tape. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Yeah. And how about this one? This is my last one. Okay. All right. Okay. Dun. This is also from Timothy Haas in the Bozeman Daily Chronicle. Bozeman, I'm supposing that's Bozeman, Montana. And so you got to love these headlines. Astronaut takes blame for gas in spacecraft.
What did he like? Was he going to run a lawnmower and brought his extra gas can or something like that up there?
I don't know, but it's a pretty closed environment. That's all I can say.
Yeah, gas always has a ripe smell to it. So.
It does. I wonder why.
It's gas. It's flammable. Anything flammable,
Could have been like methane or something. But okay, here's some methane gas.
Is that why you're not supposed to smoke around cows? Moving on.
I don't have a picture, but I don't know if have you seen those cows in Europe where they stick a tube up their rear and with a big old gas bag on it, they collect methane. Have you seen that? Because of methane is destroying the climate.
No.
Yeah, it's true. I saw pictures. I
don't doubt. I get it. So it's
I just don't. I don't know.
Well, it's the feed that they're feeding the cows, and that's where you remember where mad cow disease came from, why the cows had the disease. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, they're putting it. It's because of they're making the cows cannibals. They're taking ground up cow.
Exactly. That's the reason why.
Yeah.
So, if they would just not feed the animals that, they might not get such bad methane. Now, I was told, and I didn't know this, but I was just told last night that it is meat that causes gas in humans. So,
well,
welcome to Monday. Let us reason together.
Right. Yeah. And I won't go there with beans, though. Beans. All right. Okay. Oh, wonderful fruit.
Where's Sandi at?
She's ironing.
She's ironing. I love it.
All right. Okay. I'm waiting for Sandi to join us.
You're not. I told you to do the news first.
I'm going to do the news first.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to do these 13 strange etiquette rules.
You're not. It's already 10 after.
We'll have time. We'll have time for it all. We'll make time. All right. So 13 strange etiquette rules while Sandi puts the ironing board away.
Shut up. I won't say a word.
Okay. No, you're going to love these 13 strange etiquette rules. We might just get through a couple of them today. How about this one? And it starts out, these manners might seem backwards to you, but they're the norm in other countries. So in Russia, Russia, oh, those evil Russians. Okay. I don't think that at all, honestly. If you're in Russia and you listen to this, we love you Russians, and it's just world politics we don't get involved in. Okay. In Russia, don't try to shake hands before you enter. So get this, shaking hands would seem to be a polite way to greet someone. And yes, it often is. However, in Russia, do not offer to shake hands in a doorway. Always enter the room first or have the person come fully outside. It's said that the house spirit lives in a home's entryway, and crossing over it for a greeting would be bad luck. Getting ahead in business by learning these little rules of business etiquette. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I just thought that was interesting.
I just wish I could respond.
Yeah.
But I know it'll just take all of Sandi's time. So.
How about this? Russia, don't intentionally turn your back to people. Okay. So when you're squeezing past people to take your seats in a theater, you probably turn away from the people who are seated. Think about this. When you're going in front of somebody down the road to find your seat, you probably turn your back to them, right? In Russia, this is considered rude. Instead, you're expected to show your face, meaning you'll probably look them right in the eye as you squeeze through. In America, if you face somebody, it's kind of like awkward. Like you're facing somebody as you're squeezing past them. A lot of people will turn their back on them. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing. How about this one in Italy?
Hey, you were only going to do two.
I got Sandi joining me now. All right, so we'll put a hold on the rest of
it. I want to respond to what you just said, because you said something about squeezing past.
Yeah.
And since Sandi is your main squeeze, I thought, maybe that'll.
I just squeezed her just now. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good segue, Mark.
Hi, Sandi.
Hello.
Is this Sandi Craig?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Let me ask the question to myself. Am I Sandi Craig?
Do you have an answer for that?
No.
Okay.
Well, I
did that on purpose because I was listening.
I want to say that your shirt is very nice looking, kind of nice and ironed.
My t-shirt.
Your t-shirt looks
one that says
very good.
Life of Worship Sukkot. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, now that we've squeezed past this one, Sandy's got
No, I don't.
she's got a tidbit of Torah portion for us today.
Only a tidbit now because we used all of her.
Get rid of that screen thing.
Okay. There you
Not
go.
you, John.
There you go.
John has it so we can't even really see
I
you.
have a half screen.
Because no, you had 3/4 screen of your little comments.
See?
Yeah, you can't even see.
Half and half.
No, it's not. Anyway,
I didn't set the settings. All right, go ahead, Miss Sandy.
would you put it back, please?
There
Thank
you
you. All right. Okay. I really haven't had time to prepare for this one. So, because I always want something fresh for Torah portion. And so I'm just going to do a spiel that we've heard over and over and over again, because really the last 3 plagues that we see in Bo are all about darkness. Think about this. If locusts come buzzing by and they're in the numbers that they were in, the sky's darkened. It's dark, guys. Just like the ash of a volcano will be the same thing. It's going to be like darkness. And then number 9, we have darkness.
Oh, can I say something real quick about that?
Sure.
There's city-sized swarms of locusts in Africa right now. Okay, go ahead.
It's dark there.
It would be dark.
And then, of course, the 10th plague, being the death of the firstborn, is also a form of darkness. It's for sure darkness in the home. And out of darkness, sometimes that's God's mercy saying you have one last chance. Wake up, wake up, wake up. But also it means darkness is dark. We don't want to live in darkness. It's a kingdom of darkness against a kingdom of light. We've got that. But in reality, these last 3 plagues, the last 2 plagues, the 8th and the 9th plague, where God's saying, come on, wake up. And darkness itself, the word chosek, it means to hold back or restrain. And the 9 is the number of cessation of man, or his number about to fall, which is very, very interesting. And thick darkness is really the extension of Yah's mercy. But out of that darkness should still be, there's light that should come forth. And I relate that to where we are right now in society. We hear about this coronavirus. We hear about locusts, city-sized locust swarms. We look at our political systems and we see they are so run amok. We look around and see sex trafficking. We see the injustice in our own society here in the United States, but around the world. We see the persecution of Yah's people, and it's dark. And we know the days that we hear the predictions of eruptions, literal darkness going to come, meteors coming and hitting the earth, all sorts of things like that. But there's still hope in the midst of the darkness. Why do you say that? I say that, here I go answering my question. Because Yah gives his people favor. In the darkness is where his people should shine the brightest, because we are the city on the hill. We are the light. We are to be those that walk in Yah's favor, that show the way to light, to the kingdom of light, the way to Yeshua. And amidst all the reports in today's world of darkness, amidst all of the reports of that time, all of the evidence of the time of the Exodus, there was still light, but it was only pointing towards the only God, the great I am, Yahweh, our Elohim. And that is what it should be today. As it gets darker, we should live even that much more brightly. We should be that, as I said, that city on a hill. We should arise and shine. For your light has come and the glory of God has risen upon you. We should be that, though it says the night is almost gone and the day is near. Therefore, let us lay aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Let us behave properly as in that day. And in Isaiah, if you give yourself to hungry and sanctify and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then your light will shine or rise in darkness and your gloom will become like midday. We're going to see the same pattern of plagues hit us again. Maybe we're even seeing part of that now. I don't know. But I do know that it's dark and it's only going to grow darker, but we do not fear, because those plagues are Yah trying to wake his people up, trying to wake others up. But it is also the time when we step up to the plate and we become the light bearers, the Torah scroll written on the front side and the back side, that his truth should shine more brightly and should be more pronounced, and people should come to him. Think about this: because of the darkness, because of what was happening there, the people of Egypt bowed down to Moses as the representative of Yah. So should they bow down to our God, to Yahweh, our Elohim, because we still point to light. If we're just going through the motions of our belief system, if we're just going through the motions of pretending, or just learning about Torah and nothing more, if we are nothing more than consumers of the word, then there's no light shown. If we're not walking it out, if we're not doing the deeds of justice, it is in those times that we will truly point to the direction of Yahweh in the midst of the darkness. And there will be those that will bow down to him that are completely of the world, because they've seen the power of God operating in and through us and know that there's hope and salvation. So be the light of the world. We hear this in messages across the way, but it never changes. And I know even in the news of today, especially about, I know John was telling me all about the coronavirus yesterday and all of the updates and the lies that you do not hear about, or you do hear about from the regular media, and the truths that are hidden from them, and all the rest of the things that are happening across the world. It's ugly, and it's getting uglier every day. But it's not for us. There's hope for us. And it's an opportunity for us to show the way. And so let it be so.
All right. Oh, good. Very good, Sandi. Making me think about some things to contribute to this discussion. I want to bring Mark back in. And Mark, what are your thoughts about the Torah portion?
One of the things that I think of that we don't think of too often is that every single day of our lives, every day, when the day is done and dusk comes along, there is an extreme graduation between the full light of day and the full darkness of night. That gray area, that area where the sun goes down, it's to the point where you literally have to notice that the sun's going down. You have to notice that it's dusk. If you are busy, if you're even just sitting there, your mind is going other places. You never think of when did sunlight stop or start to degrade into, and there is no light lighting up the outside anymore. And we never think of it like that. We never apply that to anything. But if you know the Lord and you're living a lifestyle of the Lord, and I've been thinking a lot about that word life and lifestyle lately, is that we use the word life a lot of times when it's a lifestyle. But if we're living for the Lord, but we start to do things and pay attention to the things of the world more than the things of God, then that graduation into darkness, because it will eventually be dark if you're not living for the Lord. You see what I'm saying? And in the same way, we don't recognize that graduation from the light of day to the dark of night. It's the same way that we don't recognize that we are slowly moving into a lifestyle of darkness where we no longer perceive the things of God, can discern the world around us, or recognize that which is of God or is not of God. And that graduation between the two is the same as us not noticing the difference between daylight and night, which is dusk.
Right.
And so darkness is, to me, is separation. Every time I hear the word darkness, I don't really think of midnight. I think of separation of me from God. And I have been in places where I walked away from the Lord. I have been in that transition period where I started to, or I paid more attention to the things of the world rather than things of God. And before too long, it's like, wait, hold up, I'm sitting in darkness.
Yeah. Right.
So that's my thoughts on.
Yeah.
Darkness.
Well, it does, and that darkness can creep up on us if we're just so caught up, and it really comes down to like that dulling of the spirit, the dulling of the heart, and
It's like the frog in the water.
Yeah, the frog in the water. It just, we don't realize it's starting to boil and get hotter. And of course, the other side of it is what Sandy was talking about, the darkness, and over here in Exodus, what is it, chapter 10, verse 21, it says, stretch out your hand toward the sky that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even a darkness that may be felt. And so I was thinking about, we've talked about that before in terms of just that sheer heaviness of darkness. But have we ever thought about how light can be felt? I mean, for example, yesterday was just an amazing day here in the Texas Panhandle. It was in the 60s. It was really warm, but I stepped out into the sunlight and I could feel that light. And it was really, really warm. In fact, I stood out there and I came in, I said, Sandy, touch me. And because my shirt that I had on was just hot from the rays, the cosmic rays of the sun. And we thought about that impact about being a light, that a light can be felt. Light, it can be repelling if it's so bright that people are like, I can't see, but that pure light is also very inviting. It pulls people out of depression. It pulls people out of, the muck of life. And if you shine the the right light, it can make a person's day. Or if we bring darkness into a person's day, it can break their day. And we consider how we walk. And you talk about lifestyle. It's this walk, how we walk it out. It's very important how we carry that. So I don't know, some things to think about, some chew on this week. Sandy, thank you for making us think about that. Hey, I want to jump right into the news article. Sandy was talking about the coronavirus, and I was going to bring an update on that. I actually spoke about it last week on the next chapter. And so this thing has legs, and it seems to be just moving forward. And I want to bring in some highlights on what's been going on in the last 4 or 5 days. And this is from Natural News from Mike Adams. Actually, this is what he posted on January 24th. There's even more from here, but it has some interesting information. His article is breaking. Coronavirus is a stealth strain that can be carried by people who show no fever or coughing symptoms. Detection almost impossible under current government guidelines. And he's talking about how coronavirus is spreading among people who show non-respiratory symptoms. This means detection of the carriers of the virus is going to be extremely difficult, given that nearly all health officials around the world are looking for respiratory symptoms such as coughing, sneezing, and breathing difficulties. Some carriers of this rapidly spreading strain of coronavirus show no fever and no coughing, but instead are exhibiting symptoms of diarrhea, vomiting, and chest pains. Thus far, official guidance on the symptoms of the Wuhan virus has been limited to fever and symptoms of respiratory illness, such as coughing, difficulty breathing, and shortness of breath, according to the Epoch Times. However, according to local media, a report by doctors and experts from Renmin Hospital of Wuhan University on Friday noted the appearance of initial symptoms not related to the respiratory system. It said that many patients who contracted the virus did not have a fever. Therefore, simply taking the temperature of passengers at transport hubs is not enough to screen for the virus. And there's 3 confirmed cases in the USA. Total secrecy about which hospitals have the patients. And human-to-human transmission of this novel coronavirus has already been confirmed, and according to multiple sources, there are 3 confirmed cases in the United States. And as we expected, the CDC and local health officials are refusing to release the names of the hospitals where they're being treated and quarantined. And then about the secrecy, the World Health Organization so far refuses to declare this as a global pandemic, even as they were rapidly declaring fake and hoax pandemics in the years past, such as the Zika virus. The Zika virus, if you remember, I mean, everybody needed to get this vaccination, and it was shrinking the heads of babies in Brazil and that type of thing. Well, it came out to be a hoax. And what Americans need to know is that this coronavirus situation is far worse than what's being reported by the controlled media, and that carriers are going to slip past even the best detection methods, because those methods are all based on looking for fevers and respiratory problems. And there was a comment on this report from a person named Lou, and it says, clearly work
is proceeding.
Yeah, is proceeding on inventing the perfect bioweapon. This weapon is needed more than ever now that they have destroyed, with their zero interest rate insanity, virtually every pension system in the world. Incidentally, this is how you can convince good people to do bad things. You engineer in horrible conditions, prompting good people to do worse than horrible things. So it's a very good bioweapon. There's some cynicism that people have because they're being tired of being lied to. And
well, let's be real. This most likely is a created virus that's been released to do havoc. It's just is.
Exactly.
But what's sad is that the confusion of the symptoms, those symptoms are common for many illnesses. So now there's the wind shut too. I don't know. Yeah.
So, but he went on. This is what I really liked about his comment here, and this is about the bioweapon. Is bioweapons are air transmittable. They're viable outside the human body. Now, what they're finding is that this thing can be viable for 14 days. So if someone with the virus touches a doorknob, it can sit on that doorknob for 14 days. So it can be transmitted multiple times. You think about, grabbing the handles of a shopping cart or something when you go to the grocery store. If someone's touched it and you touched it, you can get it.
Yes, wear gloves.
Yeah, wear gloves, wipe down your shopping cart, that type of thing. Just know what we're facing. It's viable outside the human body. So not only can it be airborne, in fact, one of the things that they're talking about is the N95 masks are not protection. You need the full face mask to be protected from it. The doctors in Wuhan have said that they were wearing the 95 mask, but they were still coming down with it because they didn't have the eye protection because it was being absorbed in through the eyes. Fatality rate of a bioweapon is greater than 10% right now. There are reports. Originally, it came out, it was a 5% fatality. It's much higher now. I think it was pushing 15 to 18%. I think reports are going as high as 40%. So just beware of that. It has an infection latency of a bioweapon as greater than 30 days. What we know is that this is the Chinese New Year, and many people were leaving China to go to different parts of the world to celebrate the Chinese New Year. So many of them were carrying it out of the country with no symptoms. And so, they arrive into another place, for example, into Seattle, Washington, or Los Angeles, California, or San Francisco, which are big hubs for Chinese populations in the United States, and they have no symptoms, but then they come in and they're carriers. They are carriers even when they're symptom free. So the chance of this thing spreading is people don't know where it's at. And then the latency of, it might be 6 days before you even start showing any symptoms is very much a concern. And it's also very difficult to test for. A lot of times people are coming into these emergency rooms. They're going in there. They're like, it's showing symptoms of a common cold, and how quickly it starts to degrade. And so when these emergency rooms around the nation are not ready or prepared for this type of thing, how many people will be coming into these hospitals where they're circulating the air? They do have great filtration systems, but they're going to be circulating the air if they're not fully quarantined areas, and where it'll be contagious to staff carrying it to patients carrying it to loved ones, and that are visiting in the hospital. The risk is very great. And so some people in the comments were talking about, well, this is just a common cold. Well, I would disagree that it's just the common cold, because that it has this high fatality rate. The interesting thing is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation seems to have some type of hand and play in this that's been going on for several months. That what their foundation is about is building immunizations, and they make money for those immunizations because of their investments, and they invest into making the vaccines, but then they make money on the backside. And so it looks like they've been working on a vaccine for this before it even took place. Now, there's also a concern as well that they think it might have been even a Chinese bioweapon that got released, and they did not intend for it to be released. So what does that say?
Tammy said there's a biolab in Wuhan, and the lab has questionable safety practices. The full face mask needs to be N100 or better, P100. Of course, you said the full. Yeah,
the full face mask. So the N95 just covers the nose and mouth.
But the point on that is that there's an actual lab in Wuhan.
Yeah, the Wuhan. And here's the thing: when they have problems or releases, they don't tell that someone made a mistake, because it might embarrass the party. And that would be the Communist Party. They don't want to embarrass the establishment. That is dishonorable. So they don't let mistakes known. And so that's another problem that's culturally adds and contributes to the situation. China is out of their masks, and they're actually coming to the United States, buying up as many N95 masks as they possibly can, and hazmat suits. And with that said, I wanted to bring in just a couple comments from Chinese themselves in Wuhan. And one is this: to all fighting colleagues, the current social order in Wuhan is on the verge of collapsing. Some infected patients have started attacking hospital staffs in desperation. If anyone has any way to inform or contact higher up, my suggestion is to send in military to maintain hospital and social orders. Please help. I will take responsibility for the information I'm sharing. And then here's another plea from a person that says, I'm begging everyone to please help citizens of Wuhan. I'm a nurse. My husband has been infected. What's been reported by news is completely different from what's really happening. My husband has had fever for 8 days without improvement. CT scan is showing noticeable infection of lungs. In the past 8 days, I've tried every possible connection I have across all Wuhan hospitals colleagues, but no one will admit my husband. Higher up informed all doctors to deny acceptance of patients in the hospital, denied testing for the virus, denied confirmation of patients who have been infected. So it's being underreported, in other words. And so it just goes on like this. There was another report about a lady who contracted it. She could not get any medical help, and she jumped off her balcony and committed suicide because of it. Another one said, talks about a person who yesterday alone transported 50 corpses going from hospital to hospital to collect bodies. And they just, dead bodies are just being left in the beds. And so these are just the people in Wuhan, and there's 13 other cities that are showing infection. 3 major cities, maybe 4 by now, have been completely locked down, that they've even dumped dirt in the roadways to prevent people from coming in or going out to driving. So it's making people have to leave by foot. Of course, they're hungry and they're starving. The grocery stores are empty. They're basically, it's in a meltdown state right now. If it affects the ports, then shipments leaving China will come to an end, come to a stop, because they'll shut down the ports. 25% of all employees are being affected right now. In other words, their workforce is down 25%. So these are just some concerns. It's a really, really big deal, not to fearmonger, but this is something that we as believers need to be a light. We talked about light in the Torah portion. And so I want to bring it back around so we can talk about and have some discussion. While we're talking about that, I did forget this. If you would like to call in and make a comment on anything that we're talking about, we do have a phone number. And that phone number is 405-293-3270. So if you want to call us, and if you've got a comment, you want to make some comments about this Torah portion or the news article, we'd love to hear from you. We just put that number in the chat room, and you can give us a call. So I want to go to, Sandi, do you have a thought before we go to Mark?
What do you say? It's just no.
What do you think about this whole ideal? And Mark, maybe I'll throw it this way to you. What do you think about this, where they're not making a big deal of this thing, and yet it shows that the coronavirus has some legs on it, and as opposed to what they made a big deal out of was the Zika virus, where which it ended up being a hoax, but they sure sold a lot of vaccinations for it. And they talked about even doing mosquitoes and that would bite you and give you immunization from the Zika virus. But what about this deal with the coronavirus?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it, John. I come to you for you to tell me about it.
I think we're saying, you said, and you spent a lot of detail on the news article. So we're pretty much saying you did it. There you go.
Well, here's one thing. I sometimes these stories, if you really pay attention to what you're reading, it kind of sounds a little off, and that is the story of one person going around collecting bodies. First of all, there's not that statement within itself doesn't make any sense whatsoever at all.
Oh, this guy, I think that he was employed to do that. And it's basically like on a Chinese Facebook page is where these things are getting taken from. So, and I have an article where I got this from. So
I get it. It's just, you got to understand. I mean, if you're a rational person and you hear that one statement, it's almost like you're watching a movie that is made up, because in the first place, you got 50 bodies. Every one of those bodies have got family, friends. You don't just drive around to hospitals. Hey, load up the bodies in the back of a truck and you
Bring
go
out,
drive down the road.
you're dead.
But no, but in reality, if something massive like that is hitting the families, nobody wants to get around the bodies. The bodies have to be.
I know, I get it.
So the families in mass things like that, they don't do anything with families. They collect bodies and burn them. In this and other things, they don't have family contact. It's a mass disposal. So in that case, they would have somebody going around and collecting as many as they can, dumping them in a hole and burning them. So anyway,
well, that was a whole lot more information than the one line that I got out of there. And
yeah, I took one line out of his comment, and
I get it. I understand. I'm just saying, I hear stuff like that, and my brain goes into like movie mode or something, and I'm able to distinguish the difference between a movie and real life. Even movies made about real life, a lot of times I'm watching and I'm going, how close was that?
Well, and the seriousness of it is that these there was some other comments that I read. It's in this article. It's over at the HalTurnerRadioshow.com is where I got it. And in there, one lady was a nurse, and she's on the medical staff, and said they're not even letting us go home. We're worn out, we're completely tired, and we can't just walk away because they'll take our medical license from us. And others were talking about how they're wearing these biosuits, but they're out of biosuits, so they're having to keep the same ones on, and you can't just take a biosuit off. So, which means that they can't use the restroom or eat anything like that.
Then they just use their pants?
They're afraid to. That's what the comment is that they're afraid to even go to the restroom.
But 24 hours past, you're going to have to go.
Yeah. And they're working these super long shifts. They're emotionally drained, and they're just turning. They have no room in the hospitals. They're just turning people away. So it's really a desperate situation there. And if this thing is the way it is, it is certainly something that we all need to be keeping our eyes on as how it might affect us here in the United States or anywhere in the world. And the other comment that I had read is that the places of high humidity and higher temperatures are going to be at a higher risk as opposed to those that are like Canada. Canada would be a lower risk because of the colder temperatures. So, but right now it's wintertime in China. It's cold. Just saying. And they've had cases popping up all over the world: Australia, Philippines, Japan, the United States, Europe? Mexico. I don't know. I think maybe something in London, maybe in England. I'm not quite sure about Europe yet, but we're just watching. We're keeping eyes on it.
The only thing I can say is that everybody in America owns a gun. And so, if it comes over here, we'll handle it.
Right. Well, and this is something too, is to be prepared for, is that they could call a medical martial law, which says it could get so bad where they tell us no one to leave their home and it might be last exactly 2 weeks to 4 weeks. So you want to just make sure that you've got some food and water and preparation so that you can, wait it out. So, and of course, the other concern is the effect on the economy. You shut down the economy, you shut down commerce, the moving of the trucks in and out of cities to bring foods. I mean, there's just all sorts of potential. The societal breakdown, and that's what they're experiencing there in Wuhan. So just some things I just think is very important for us to know and talk about, be aware, and to be a light. We need to be a light and make people aware of these things too. All right.
Sí, señor. Es muy good.
Well, Mark, you've got the Brit Hadashah.
I do, and for some reason I have it every week.
I can switch it around. I can give you something else, but I know you're good. I like you on the bread. Let's do.
Well, and Sandi was talking about how on the Torah portion, it's kind of like almost the same thing every year, and it's you get sometimes you can get frustrated in looking for something different. With me, and like you even got less to choose from the Brit Hadashah than you do the Torah portion, and things stand out to me that I always try to get as something as so totally different than most everybody else is going to talk about. And, I mean, you look at this and it's Jesus' side is pierced, and it's talking about when Yeshua is on the cross, and he's dead, and they didn't break his legs, and they pierced his side, and all of that. And this is the normal thing that people go to. When you're talking about this particular passage for the Brit Hadashah portion of the Torah portion. Now, to me, what stands out, and it may be because I'm dealing with, I've been going to a rather large church for about 8 months now, and I am getting to share quite often with people in the church, including the pastor. And there are specific things that you can see in the Torah portions that Christians who are very familiar with this passage, but they don't get this passage. And for instance, I mean, just taking the it's 3 days and 3 nights from the time that he's put in the grave and he's risen, and it's like, okay, well, how can it be 3 days and 3 nights? It doesn't line up. And once we have been in and I learned this very early on in my Messianic lifestyle walk. In the early days, it's one of the early teachings that I understood, and most of us that are walking in the Messianic walk, we recognize the Sabbath. And as a matter of fact, Sabbath and kosher are the two number one and two things that usually bring people into the lifestyle and get them to looking into it and understanding and end up living the Messianic lifestyle. And the number one thing being Sabbath. It could be interchangeably Sabbath, kosher, Sabbath. But in that, pretty soon, usually we learn about high Sabbath. It's not just a weekly Saturday Sabbath that we enjoy, but now as we start learning about the Moedim, we learn about high Sabbath, and they all come with a high Sabbath. I believe there's 7 that are throughout the year, and when you get to the Pesach, Passover, Easter week there, and you start learning about this, you find out, if you get a good teacher, you find out that it is because of that high Sabbath, which is an extra Sabbath that goes along with Pesach, that makes it able to understand those 3 days and 3 nights. And it makes it put together, because you can't count from that Sabbath to Sunday and get 3 days or whatever else you want to do, or the Friday night or whatever like that. But it's an interesting. I remember when I first learned this, it was like I'm on the floor weeping, Lord, thank you for this, and take me. I want to know more. I want to know more, and I want to know more. And these are those things, those teachings like this are those things that when we are witnessing to Christians, which all of us should be doing, and every one of us should be actively pursuing, helping others to understand their Hebraic roots of their faith, and putting things together so that they understand the full gamut of God's plan. It's all there, right there in His Word. It's everything's there. It's nothing new that we know. It's all right there. This is one of those things that you can help spark. Like, for instance, I had a lunch with my pastor, my new pastor from the church I'm going to, last Tuesday, and he used the word intrigued several times during the lunch, and there were about 3 different things. I didn't try to inundate him. We talked about several things. It wasn't just this, but I always like to come with something that I can present to him when it has to do with things that he already knows, which is, now this man knows his Bible. Let me tell you, I'm amazed by how much this man knows his Bible, and that's from beginning to end, and not just the New Testament. But it's fun to bring him things out of the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, that is his lifestyle, and show him real Hebraic understanding, like, for instance, the high Sabbath, which is, it's read right here. As a matter of fact, before I came on today, I looked it up. I love BibleHub.com because you can put in one verse and get several different translations. And I wanted to know, does any of these translations actually say a high Sabbath, or explain the Sabbath? And I get special Sabbath for a Sabbath that was a high day. Next day was a high Sabbath. There we go. Of course, that's out of Berean. You're always going to get something good there. Anyway, you can go down and you can see and point out, you can find out, all these different translations that even any Christian can go in there and pull out and learn and study this out. But they're not going to if they don't see anything different than what they normally see. And even in the KJV, the complete Jewish Bible, which I like to use simple, but for Christians it's simple. And it says it was preparation day, and the Judeans did not want the bodies to remain on the stake on Shabbat, since it was an especially important Shabbat. It's like, come on, you can say high Sabbath. It's okay, especially important Shabbat. All right, that's good, man. High Sabbath, man. If I hear the word high Sabbath, it's like, ooh, what is that? Explain that to me. Anyway, so that's my little deal on this. Is that I always use torahportions.ffoz.org, looking things up quickly. And of course, they're using a version that says would not remain on the cross on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high day. And in most translations, that's what they say, is it's a high day. Come on, switch the words around and say high Sabbath. Hey, now you got it. But a high day, and hey, Sabbath is a high day, right? Any weekly Sabbath, that's a high day. So you can get it all different directions, but high Sabbath, man, So anyway, you can use these little bits and sections here out of the portions, the Brit Hadashah, learn some things out of that and share it with somebody that doesn't know. I mean, that's why we're living this Messianic lifestyle, is to learn these special things and get to know the Messiah as the Messiah was known, know him for as he was known, and learn those things and share those things. And I have to say, this right now is probably one of the most blessed times in my entire life, because I'm now getting to share the vast knowledge that I've learned in the past 24 years of living this lifestyle. I'm getting to share it with people that really are interested and can take it and share it even further. So that's my little deal on that portion.
Well, that's really good. And you mentioned something, Mark, that I thought that just really intrigued me. And because a lot of times I was intrigued as well. And it had to do with the witnessing to Christians.
Yes.
Witnessing to Christians. And I guess I've never put it in those terms before. But in reality, that's our mission field from a Messianic perspective is much bigger, because there are people that are unchurched, they're outside of the covenant, they're completely pagan, whatever. And there's those people that are churched, they're religious, they may know Yeshua, but there is still this element of life that they need. And how you talk to them and how you bring these things out is very important, because just as a pagan can be pushed away, and so can a Christian be pushed away. And having those right words and saying it in the right way is very important. How do you salt that conversation? How do you season that conversation to where it makes them want a little bit more, and ask those questions? And I would say, how many people actually even look at this passage and even question it as a Sabbath, as opposed to saying, it was a Jewish day, not ask the question, what is the significance of this Sabbath, this high Sabbath? That's what it is. It's a high Sabbath. Why is this important? And if we lose it in translation, the next thing they're going to look at is they're not going to be looking at that. They're going to be looking at the fact that it was the day that his body was put on the cross and his legs weren't broken. Or the soldiers, they didn't do to him like they did to the others to make him die faster. They're looking at that aspect, but the whole story hinges on the day that it is. Besides the person in the story, of course, is Yeshua in the midst of that. Those two things are the most important things, and tend that people will not look at why that's significant. So
I agree. It's interesting. I hadn't caught my wordage when I said witness to Christians. I guess I didn't catch my wordage on that, but it really is. I'm finding, like I said, I'm just so thrilled about what's going on, and I actually got a go-ahead last Tuesday at our luncheon from the pastor to go ahead and share these things, because I have got so many people asking me questions, during Sunday and Wednesday night when I go, and I get so many people asking me questions that it's like, what are my boundaries? What can I say and what can I not say, so that I'm not violating, this church, because people go into church trying to teach people and get them over to their side. Am I not right?
Oh, yeah.
There are people that do that.
Yeah.
And so I had to make sure he understands that's not what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 24 years, and I have something that I can offer, and I'm here to offer, and I've got people asking questions. what are my boundaries? What can I say?
Yeah.
You know, and what can I not? What do you not want me to say? And he's given me the total go ahead, you know, to go ahead. And I mean, if I want to verbalize and say, hey, you know, this might be against the church's doctrine. This is what I believe, you know,
Right.
but there's a way to do it. There is a way to get these things across, and I've been given that go ahead. Anyway, it's a big deal.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I appreciate that, because a lot of people will come in and they say, oh, here's a good group of people that I can sway to my opinion. And they actually they don't come under the vision of that ministry. They want to create division, two different visions, and ultimately causes church splits and congregational splits and that type of thing. And I appreciate what you're saying, is that we as believers must be careful that we're not trying to go start our own group out of somebody else's sheepfold. Right. And I call it another way is, and because we've experienced this so much, is that it's called sheep stealing. Where people will come in with another vision, they'll pull people out to their point of view, or they say, oh, wow, you love Yeshua or you love Jesus, come to my church. Yeah, we have more to offer. We have these great things to offer. You know, that's not what we should be doing. We should be building the body wherever Yahweh places us and be part of that vision. So good. That's good.
I want to hear Sandi's valuable input there. I'm always interested in her twist, and I know we're over time, but.
Well, I'm focused on, I think what you're doing where you're at is what we should all be doing. I do, because if you look at Messianic circles, that's what they do. They take let's go from this group to this group to this group, and we need to be going out into the field. So, and speaking the truth. And then like John said, you going before the pastor and saying, hey, where are my boundaries? So he is put at ease knowing that you're not there with another agenda, because we have experienced those other agendas, and you're just out there to shed light. Really what we were talking about in the Torah portion. You're there to be light and show truth in areas that they may not know and understand. But as you have said, as you have shown through your experience, those in the Messianic Hebraic Roots community that think it's the end all of all, they have a big plank in their eye, because there are people that are sitting in the churches that are hungry and thirsty. They just need some revelation and somebody to point them that way. And that's what you're doing. And to me, that wraps up being light in the midst of darkness from the Torah portion and the Brit. And thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, that woman's got some valuable input.
Yes, she does. I just have to encourage her to.
Because I'm looking at the clock.
She's looking at the clock.
I know. I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry.
I told John time's up. I can't talk. So
not up with me. I you know what? I won't even charge you for the extra time.
Well, thank you.
Well, hey, that does bring us to the end of this of Let Us Reason Together for the Monday edition. I appreciate y'all listening. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you heard. Share us on your Facebook page. We're here every day of the week, live programming. Go to the MessianicLambRadio.com and look at all the great programming, the live programming that's going on, and just come in and be part of the conversations as we try to spread this good word. And basically, if you want to say today it's dark to light. There you go. That's what we talked about. So, well, I want to say that's it for right now. And we will be concluding. We'll see you next time.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.